Hi, this is a tutorial to show you how to make this metal rack that we have here. So that we can do some technical drawings. And finally, we can do a finite element analysis, or FEA, to look at the stress and strain and displacement that this particular metal rack would incur with a certain amount of force. So step one is to create a sketch. We're going to create a sketch on the horizontal plane. And we're going to draw a 2-point rectangle. We're going to start in the center here, and we need to make this 2-point rectangle 680 by 1,680 millimeters, that is. We're going to be using pipes to make this particular metal rack. So the first thing we need to do is actually use the mirror function. So we're going to just draw a line in the middle of this rectangle. So I use the line tool, and now I'm going to use the dimension tool, and I'm going to select the line, and I'm going to select the other side of the rectangle, and I'm going to pull down the dimensions. I'm going to use this 1,680 and divide it by 2, and that's going to put this line in the center of my rectangle. The next thing I'm going to do is add a point. It doesn't really matter where you add this point, because we're going to use the dimension tool to put it in the correct spot. And we want this to be 20 millimeters from the corner, so both from the horizontal and vertical line. And we need to do this on the upper corner, upper right-hand corner also. Now that I have my 2 points, I'm going to use the mirror function. I'm going to select my 2 points, and I'm going to select the line in the middle of the rectangle, and that's going to mirror the 2 points across that line. I'm going to delete the line and finish my sketch and go to the home view. My next step is to create a construction plane. I'm going to put it onto the vertical plane here, and I want this to be -20 away from that plane, or in the same plane as the point that I just created. I'm going to sketch on this plane. Notice that it turns gray. And I'm going to sketch a line starting at the point that I created earlier, and I need this to be 1,840. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side with the other point that I created earlier. I'm going to zoom in to make sure that I get this right on the line. And again, it needs to be 1,840. You can see the 2 lines that I just created, and I'm going to finish my sketch. I'm going to create another construction plane, again coming from the origin. This time I'm going to come into the negative 660. And I'm going to draw those exact same lines that are 1,840 millimeters long, again off of the same point. On both sides. When I finish my sketch and hit the home view, you'll see that I have my 4 upright lines. Next step is I'm going to use the pipe function, and I'm going to select one of my uprights, and I need to make sure that the fields in the window that pops up look like this. So you should have 40 millimeters and 1.5 millimeters for the thickness. And I need to just do this same process all the way around. Now, if your sketches disappear, you can always turn them back on in the browser. So these are the uprights of that metal rack. I'm going to create another construction plane off of that horizontal flat plane, and I'm going to bring this up 120 millimeters. And I'm going to sketch on this plane. I'm going to turn off the upright bodies, and I'm going to sketch on this plane. I need to create another point that is 39.9 away from the side of the rectangle. I want there to be a tiny bit of overlap between the vertical things that I just made earlier, the vertical pipes that I made earlier, and this particular cross piece. That'll allow this to be joined together properly. So I need this to be 39.9 away from that side. And then from here, I need it to be 20 millimeters. And I'm going to do the same thing here. It doesn't matter where you draw your point because you can set this distance using the dimension tool. So again, I'm pulling this and it's going to be 39.9. And I just want to check to make sure that it's 20 millimeters from the edge. It is, so we're good. Again, I'm going to draw a line here. I probably could have used the line that I drew earlier that I deleted, but that's okay. And I need this to be 840 away from the side of the rectangle. And I'm going to use the mirror function again. I'm going to select the 2 points that I just created. And I'm going to mirror them using the mirror line across and click OK. Now, I need to draw a line between these 2 points that I just created. So this is going to be a horizontal line. Make sure a little square goes around the point when you click it. I'm going to hit the escape key to get out of the line function and then go to the next 2 points and do the exact same thing. And I finish my sketch. You can see the vertical pipes, and then I'm going to create pipes for these horizontal pipes. Now, one thing that's important is the operation needs to be a new body. This is very important. Again, I might have to turn my sketch back on because once I've created a pipe with one of the lines, the sketch tends to disappear. And again, the operation needs to be a new body, and then I click OK. My next step is to create an offset plane on one of the vertical pipes. And I want to set this at negative 20 millimeters, and I'm going to sketch on that pipe. I'm turning off some of these bodies just to get a better sense of what I'm looking at, and actually I'll be turning some of them back on. Turning on some sketches. And I'm going to turn back on bodies 1 and 2, which are the vertical pipes. I'm going to sketch a point. The point does not need to be on those lines. Again, I'm going to use the dimensions to help me get it to be the correct placement. And so I need this to be 39.9 away from the left side of the left pipe. And I need this to be 120 millimeters away from the bottom of the left pipe. With the same process, I'm going to do another point on the right pipe, and I need it to be in the exact same placement, but just on the right. So it needs to be 39.9 away from the right side of the right pipe, and it needs to be 120 millimeters away from the bottom of the right pipe. I'm going to draw a line between the 2 points that I just drew. Again, look for that blue square that goes around the points. That shows you that you've selected the correct points. I'm going to finish my sketch, and I'm going to then create the pipes. I'm going to turn off a bunch of sketches except for the last one, and I'm going to create a pipe on the line that I just drew. Again, the operation needs to be a new body, and I'm going to click OK, and then I can turn back on some of these other bodies just to get a sense of what's going on. I need to repeat this process on the other side of the frame. So I'm going to create my construction plane on the surface of the other uprights, and I'm just going to repeat the same process that I did before. So there's an offset plane, it's halfway through the pipe, and I'm going to sketch on that surface 2 points that are 39.9 away from the left pipe, 39.9 away from the right pipe, and 120 millimeters above the bottom of the pipes. I'm drawing the pipe right here. Again, the operation needs to be a new body, and I can hit the home key and turn all the other bodies on again. So you can see that we now have part of the bottom rack here. We're going to add the horizontal bars that are in the middle of this bottom rack, and I'm going to reuse one of my construction planes. I'm going to reuse the one that I did to draw the bottom rack in the first place. And I'm going to add again some points. So I'm going to add a point, again, kind of randomly, and then use the dimension tool to place it correctly. I need this, as you guessed, 39.9 away from the top side in your view. And I need this. This is a fairly exact distance. It needs to be 506.67 away from the left side. I'm going to create another point that is, again, just randomly placed. I'm going to use the dimension tool to put it in the correct spot. This is going to be 506.67, but I can just click on the earlier dimension that I drew and it'll put it in the correct spot. I need this to be, as you guessed, 39.9 away from the bottom from your view right now. This isn't really the bottom, but on the screen it's the bottom of the rack on the screen. I'm going to mirror these 2 points. So I'm going to select them and then use that mirror line, and now I've got those 2 points mirrored on the other side. And I'm going to use a line and draw it between the 2 points that I just drew, hit the escape key, and then draw a line between the other 2 points that were mirrored. Again, hit the escape key, finish my sketch, and I'm going to create pipes on those new paths or lines that I just created. Again, I need to make sure that they are a new body. I'm going to repeat the process here. Turn on the sketch because it's disappeared. New body, and click OK. So now the whole bottom rack is completed. So my next step is to copy this. So I'm going to use the move and copy function, which is that four-headed arrow. I'm going to select all of the pieces that are on the bottom rack, so not the uprights, but all of the other pieces. And I'm going to click on create a copy, and I'm just going to pull this towards the top. I'm going to position this copy of the bottom rack so that it's flush with the top of the uprights. So I'm just going to keep pulling this until it's flush. And then I'm going to click OK. And now you can see that I have a top rack. I also need one in the middle, so I'm going to do the same process where I'm going to move, create a copy, select all of the different horizontal pieces of the shelves, create a copy, pull it up, and I want this one to be 850. And there we go. We have a completed rack. Thanks for watching.